Oh, I'm the only one that isn't all fancy like.
Talking as well. Everybody, thank you very much tonight for coming back to the open mic night. Tonight we're going to talk about the smokescreen that is the Catholic Church. We have a few regulars like Manda and Dave. Ricardo has joined us tonight, and we have been invited to be joined with, we're just going to go with Saul. I tried to read your Twitter name earlier and it's very, very long, so we're just going to call you Saul.
That's fine, thank you.
So Saul has joined us. He is he is a Catholic, so it's good to be representative and have him here tonight. And Leo has just popped. Manda, Dave, and I were fucking about earlier. We were trying to get my audio sorted. If hopefully my audio is good. If it's not, let me know. And we come sort of bantering back and forth. Come up with
what good?
Pardon?
Your what? What? You're asking if your what is good? I can't hear you.
Don't make me start talking pig Latin, you know.
Iglay Attenpay, huh?
I have arrive utge eggpay Attenplay.
Shut the fuck up.
Is everybody revved up for the debate tonight? Because boy, is that still gonna be a shit show.
Okay, I'm back again. Right, so
we actually were gonna well, I don't know if you still wanted to do that on Twitch, but yes, it's going to be a shit show.
Yes,
everybody's gonna cry, and we're all going to be embarrassed to be Americans. So no. But I did watch the 60 Minutes interview today, like the whole thing.
The one that Trump released.
Well, Robbie found it, and it was whichever the fuck way he is. It was
60 minutes meant to be 60 minutes long.
Yeah, it's 38 minutes long.
Yeah, he walks out, but
yeah, isn't that the one that Donald Trump actually, like him and his, I don't know, whoever the fuck you want to call him, the one that they posted, like this isn't the one that's 60 minutes, because they're gonna air that on Sunday, I think, aren't they? Something like that.
Yeah, okay. Sunday is when they air it. No,
of course he walked out.
He just didn't look. He has been on Fox News 144 times since he's been president. CNN 0. Yeah. He's barely been anywhere else. He goes on interviews where it's all softball. It's all, we love you. You're the best. He doesn't like getting asked real questions. And to him, that was, it was what it was. So, but anyway, this is not about politics.
Later on tonight, as Manda says, if we can find a good stream, I might.
Oh man, you guys are not comrades, are you? Because you should be watching Vosh's streaming of it, because he's going to be dismantled. I subscribed him to a while, and I've watched a few videos, but I have to be honest, he is very, very well spoken when it comes to politics.
Yes.
And very well educated.
Who's Vosh?
Vosh, you know who Vosh is. We've told you this before. I'm sick of time.
Vosh, the hippie liberal leftist socialist from the United States that does stuff on YouTube.
Yeah. That guy.
There are lots of them.
No, back on topic. Back on topic. Keeping it on topic.
Do you have Mr. Mime? Whoever that is? Is waiting.
Dave, if you can add them there.
There you go. Oh, fuck me.
It's Quentin. Thank you for joining us, Quentin.
Howdy doody, fellas.
Howdy doody. So, as I was saying, yes, we will be streaming possibly the debate later on Twitch, and in representative of how we came up with this today, we were testing the audio. We were made topics bounced back and forth. Dave mentioned straight after Manda mentioned it, though I think Manda mentioned it first, was about the Pope and his stance on civil partnerships. Yes, Manda?
Yeah, civil unions.
Civil unions, yes. Dave claims it was his idea and says that he's better informed on the topic, so we will lean towards Dave and tap him.
No, I will give him this, that it's something we have discussed before, that he's brought up and he has very good ideas about. However, I was the one who said it should be the topic, so I claim it.
We'll have an argument about this. This is the topic. Who came up with this thing? I did.
It's Dave, it's in the title. It's literally in the title of the video. This was Manda's idea, and no. Oh, I've lost everything. Sorry. Right.
That's okay. It means at least that you can throw it at Manda instead of me at the start.
If you could inform us then, Dave, on the topic.
Yes. Tell us.
Dean, as you're so well informed on it, what is the stance?
I think Manda would be better placed.
Well, no, I mean, in terms of what I said, I see there are a lot of progressive things that has been coming out of Pope Francis's mouth lately, like climate change. They're no longer denying that, and then the civil union thing. See, I saw it as them attempting to lure the younger groups, because the Catholic Church is losing numbers like mad.
Yeah.
And they know that they need to progress in order to get the younger generations. That's how I saw it. However, Dave saw it a different way. Go ahead, Dave.
I don't remember.
Come on, Dave.
Right.
Let us know.
The simple fact is that this attempt is literally to avoid gay marriage.
Yeah.
Yes.
They are doing it solely by 20 years too late.
If I can just say as well, before you go any further, Saul, do not be afraid to jump in and interrupt and disagree with anything we say here and have your opinion, because star of the show, so to speak. You know, you're the guest of honor, so feel free to jump and shout and scream at anything.
The open mic, though. That's the point of it. It's fine.
Yeah, I will say yesterday, pretty much all day, I kind of just didn't even look into it, because, you know, my preference is always to let me read it myself. Let me read what was said, no matter who says it, right? I mean, I think that's just the charitable thing to do, is to not take one or two sentences as broadcast, and at least try to read the paragraph before and after. So, and I think in the afternoon, some of that had been clarified a little bit, and then more stuff today as well.
I would ask a generic question. Obviously, I have no clue how the Catholic Church works, really. When he says that he thinks that it should be recognised in law, is he talking about country's law, or is he talking about Catholic law?
So, I believe he's talking more in generic sense, and the my Spanish is pretty bad, but the actual term they used. Trying to find it here. It basically could have been translated as civil union, which is how it's been reported, but also could have been translated as civil coexistence. And so, but and in that case, the reality is that we would say treat everybody with dignity and respect. And so, the couple of sentences prior to that, he was talking about family members and parents who basically would disown or kick their kids out of the family because they were same-sex attracted. And so then he followed it up by saying, hey, you still have to love your kids. I mean, you have to love your neighbor, not just kick them out of the family. So I would presume that in the bigger context, he was kind of meaning more of that across the globe, countries should be trying to treat everybody with dignity and respect, and it's starting at the family, and then of course up to governments. So like anti-discrimination laws and that sort of thing.
Do you think it's genuine, or do you think it has motivation behind it?
I mean, I can't psychoanalyze the Pope any more than I could anybody else. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, I understand that.
Do you think it will be accepted by everyone within the Catholic Church?
So far, not really.
Well,
numerous bishops and archbishops have already come out and said, yeah, no, sorry, we got to go with what the Bible says.
Well, the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith published back in 2003. I think it was when Cardinal Ratzinger was the head of it. They published a paper on it and talked about predominantly tying civil unions to marriage and saying that it wouldn't be recognized by the church. And so again, I think it depends. If the bishops people that understand them to be saying more, hey, we need to have laws that basically don't discriminate against people, I think everybody would be on board with that. If it's taken the other way, saying, hey, that the Pope thinks that there needs to be the equivalent of marriage civilly, then they're going to say, well, it can't. And that's one thing too with the Pope is I know there's a lot of people that think that maybe everything he says becomes doctrine, which isn't the case. A good example.
But isn't he? I'm sorry to interrupt, but isn't he supposed to be pretty much God's, authority on earth? So why wouldn't they?
Well, only when he's specifically declaring something as binding, and that's only happened a few times, honestly, in history. So
the starting point of doctrine, rather than he hasn't declared it doctrine, is the point. He has to.
Correct, and it's more I'm sure people have heard or familiar with the term infallibility and papal infallibility. What it really is a protective or a negative protection, so that he may teach lots of things, but he's never going to teach something binding on the church that would be incorrect. And like I said, it's only been a few times, I think, in history that a pope by himself has said, thus saith God, and you have to believe this. But like, to go out on an interview, he could say something even completely contrary to Catholic teaching, like an actual dogma. And if it's just his opinion on a talk show, it could be because he just misspoke. It could be because he, in a rush said the wrong word. Maybe he had a couple too many martinis. A
little bit of sacrament.
So yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all real wine. So that's one of the benefits of being Catholic. We're getting the real stuff.
Yeah, but these declarations that he's done about climate change, about civil unions, were not some off the cuff whatever. He spoke about them as if they were, and I know, okay, I guess I understand the difference between, making it actual doctrine or whatever, but still, him saying these things, don't you think a lot of his followers are going to listen to it and abide by it because he is the Pope?
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean,
depends. Yeah, how far it would go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's probably a large. Well, I mean, I know because for a large chunk of my life, I was one of these. I mean, I was away from the church for many years, and I kind of just said, well, I'll choose to believe certain things, and then based on my opinion, I'll reject other things. And so, I mean, I'm sure there's already plenty of Catholics that would say he's not gone far enough. So some will and some won't. I mean, at the end of the day, though, he can't change the church's official position on it, because it's not something that he or even all the bishops together could change. At least when it comes to things.
I think there's more of a risk. I think there is a risk at the moment, at this point in history, of a split in the Catholic Church over something like this, if they forced something like this.
I think that's why he sort of understands that you
it'll happen, though. Sorry, go ahead.
Go on ahead, Saul. Go on, say your bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that it couldn't happen. I mean, it's within the realm of logical possibility that there could be a schism over it. So I guess I don't want to be so presumptuous to say it's impossible, but
but there hasn't really been. Like, there hasn't been, it's not like it. I mean, it didn't just happen. It's recent. Yeah, I haven't heard any pushback.
I don't think that it would schism unless they actually turned around and said,
okay,
as a group, this is going to be dogma.
Putting forth the idea, Manda has said, and Dave has said, it's about popularity. Taking this more, aggressive stance, so that they can save their followers and save their members. Right? Taking that into account, Manda, and not to jump on the Catholic side, would you prefer if they didn't?
No, of course I want them to progress. I don't want any more of this hate in the world. I'm tired of people using their fucking doctrine as an excuse to treat people like shit. I'm tired of it. So if they're going to move forward and say it's okay, for people to be who they are, yes, I'm all for it. Oh, just saying.
Yeah, and I don't think that, I mean, I can tell you the official church's position would be that you can't use religion to throw hate at people. That's not the church's position. The church's position is, the simple explanation would be, you can love the sinner, but hate the sin.
You know that that's a lie. Know that that's a lie, though. Because that's not what happens.
Individuals act in their own way, right? But that's that's no different than any profession where people don't live up to the values that they're called upon, whether it's law enforcement,
it's not just a little thing. I mean, it's huge amounts of people that are religious that use this as an excuse for hate.
I would say the people that dislike homosexuals and pretty much anybody that's a member of the LGBTQ plus community almost exclusively dislike them or hate them or whatever word you want to use.
I mean,
because of religion.
The problem is, I think this is where we get into a very dangerous area of picking. You're talking about how individual people believe in relation to the church,
using the Bible as an excuse to justify it. If the church says that that they're okay now, then people are still going to hate.
Well, I mean,
That's really the point. I mean, even if the church did change its position on it, individuals wouldn't.
Yes, that's my point.
Yeah.
Ricardo, you were Catholic, right? Hi, Stephen.
Hi.
Yeah. After Ricardo, Quentin did try there. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was.
Go ahead, Ricardo.
Yeah, I was a Catholic for a few years. Born and raised Catholic. Left, I don't know, 16, 17, something like that. Maybe a little bit older. There's one thing about Francis, which is, I don't know if everyone knows, but it's not the first time that he does this. He has a book that he wrote a few years back. I'm not entirely sure when, but it was like 4 or 5 years ago, called Amoris Laetitia. And in there, he already defended the same-sex unions. So, and there's also people that say that he had that conversation with Ratzinger before the transfer over. And that was one of the points where Ratzinger was in opposition to him. And it was exactly the fact that he was supportive of people having same-sex unions or same-sex relationships. So he has always been friendlier, is the word maybe, towards GRSM.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Sorry.
Yeah, I was surprised when I looked into it. I didn't look into it until this evening.
I only found out about it earlier today when you mentioned it, Dave.
No, what I mean is I knew about the stuff that had happened in the last few days. I hadn't looked into his history with it until this evening, and the fact that he has...
far behind. I knew about this yesterday when they aired the actual video at the Vatican, and I did want to mention that that documentary, Francesco, I believe it's called, the clip where Francis comes out in favor of same-sex civil unions was actually a claim that he made in May of 2019 in an interview with a Mexican broadcasting company.
Yeah.
And neither the Vatican nor that Mexican broadcasting company would conclude whether or not they were the ones that originally cut those remarks from that broadcast, because it did not appear in that broadcast, because obviously the Catholic Church has a reason to not like gay people, and most Mexicans are Catholics and kind of sort of don't really like gay people. So who knows who cut that out. But this is actually not something like he just straight up said on Wednesday. This was something he said in an interview in May of 2019 that was added to this documentary that aired in the Vatican yesterday.
Yeah, I believe that the end spin of this is going to be that the church will come out in some form or another and say that this is the opinion of George Bergoglio and nothing to do with Pope Francis, kind of thing. Although they are the same person, they're going to spin it as being his personal opinion as George Bergoglio. That's what I think it's going to happen. I don't know.
Can they do that?
I believe, yeah, they can, because although he is the Pope, he is entitled to have his own opinion as George Bergoglio. So they will probably say that it was Monsignor George Bergoglio giving his opinion on the matters of current politics or something like that.
Yeah, that's almost exactly what's being done. You mentioned the Amoris Laetitia, and so I was just trying to dig back through it. I mean, that was 2016, but he also said this in the same document. In paragraph 251 of Amoris Laetitia, so it's citation. There are absolutely no grounds for considering homosexual unions to be in any way similar or even remotely analogous to God's plan for marriage and family. So he might have said something else in there as well, but and this is one of the things that I think is driving people a little crazy is he's got almost just as many statements very similar to that as when he says something about civic unions. And so, you know, a couple of the podcasts I listened to today were talking about this, either were published late last night or first thing today. And more than anything, it's just a level of frustration. And you're right, it is kind of his opinion, but you know, for Americans, it'd be like if one of the Supreme Court justices was on a talk show saying something like contradictory to the Constitution, you might say. It would create some confusion just because of the visibility and kind of like their level, you know, in American government, to hear a Supreme Court justice say something, or the president, you know, saying something like that sounds to completely contradict something in the Constitution could create quite a bit of confusion to the average person. Like, well, what does the Constitution really mean then if the SCOTUS still, if they don't understand it, or if the president doesn't understand it? So yeah, very similarly, and you know, not new for Pope Francis. This is something that he's done many times since he became Pope, to say things that are kind of nebulous and could be taken out of, you know, in a really bad way, or at best you have to kind of try to spin it in its best light. And that certainly does become discouraging for a lot of people to continue to try to defend what he said.
I did want to add that this is going to have practically no effect on any religious people in the United States, because most people in the United States are evangelical Christians, not Catholics.
Can I?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, go on ahead, Quentin.
I was just gonna say a little bit ago, like, you know, somebody that was a part of the LGBT community. I was really happy last year when I had heard about how Pope Francis, like, you know, is for same-sex marriages, because in my eyes that started to actually make me think, well, if the Catholics can do it, then
Dave made the clarification that it wasn't marriage, it was civil union. The reason that he went forward with was to give that, but to actually separate the stance of marriage. So it's like, you know, gay people can have their civil unions and they can be together, but they're still not married. And it was to give chance, you know, to postpone that backlash that they'll get, so to speak.
Well, I mean,
go
ahead.
No, go on. I was going to ask Leo a question after.
I'm going to shut you down. No, let Quentin talk for at least 2 minutes.
No, like, but when I saw that, I was actually kind of like, holy shit, if Catholic people can do this, you know, other people in the Christian religion can start to be like, yeah, we can accept this. And then, you know, like,
as Leo pointed out to you, Quentin, you know, a lot of people in America
to be Christians.
You're in America, Saul, yes? Where, if you mind me asking?
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. I mean, we're considered a anti-Christian cult by some. I mean, I would say some of the pretty radical.
The Methodists, the Baptists,
right,
the Mormons,
those guys
the Witnesses, pretty much everybody who's not a Catholic.
Well, as a non-denominational person, I see you guys as Christians. Those guys are just being assholes.
Amen, brother.
What is that hissing noise?
But, like, I think that, you know, like, I even get shit and be called I'm not a Christian because, you know, I'm pansexual and non-binary. So, you know, they're like, oh, you're not a true Christian. I'm like, to your standards, maybe.
I don't think that was the... What?
Oh, no, I'm still... But that's one of the reasons.
I could be a dick right now for you, Q, and be like, well, of course not. God made them male and female. Get it, because non-binary. I know I'm an ass. I love Quentin, though. I'm just picking on
well, let's keep it serious, Tug. We're having a serious... Let's not make hissing noises in the background or anything like that, you know? Stephen, have you anything...
Wait. I want
my medication.
Leo.
What's up?
Do you not think that this will make the Catholic Church a potential out for evangelicals in the States?
What do you mean?
It's positioning themselves. Amanda touched on it. Is it not potentially positioning the Catholic Church as somewhere that has a generally hard doctrine, like the evangelicals, and people that find themselves with gay family members can move towards the Catholic Church? Is this something that's potentially making it more attractive to people that are currently evangelical?
I would say no. mainly because most evangelicals think that Catholicism is some anti-Christian denomination.
Yeah, but we know that
Judaism,
goes away.
but
We know that goes away when they start looking.
sometimes, but most of the time it doesn't. You got to know how evangelical conservatives in the United States work.
Oh, no, I totally work, and it's very insular. But the point is once you start being pushed to the outside, for example, having family members that are gay, that's the point at which you start looking and you start going, well, we'll start thinking about going to another church, and we'll look for what churches are local, and you'll go and listen to a service, and it's much more practical once you've been pushed away.
Yeah, but I just don't see that happening with evangelicals, just because they're evangelicals.
Fair enough. Sorry,
These are a set of people in the United States who literally do not care one iota about what can be demonstrated, about facts and about data. I know people who are evangelical conservatives who have never changed a single opinion that they have ever had in the 20+ years that I've known them. They think the same, they believe the same things, and they have never changed, and they never will, because you see, Aaron Ross says it best: ignorance isn't just what you don't know, it's what you refuse to know. And that pretty much describes evangelical conservatives in the United States. They're not going to change, or very, very, very small amounts of them will ever change, because they don't feel that it's necessary to do so.
Leo,
they think they've already got it all figured out.
Leo, I disagree with you, because, like, here's the thing. I grew up in a very strict Baptist setting whenever I was adopted. And, you know, when I'm saying very strict, I mean, like, if they weren't Republican, if you weren't straight, if you weren't this or that, you were a piece of shit in God's eyes. Like, they had disowned my cousin when he came out to be gay, and they kicked me out of the house whenever they found out that, you know, I was pan. About 2 years ago, though, my father, who I thought would never change, like, he was homophobic, to say the best. Called me one day, and he's just like, you know what? I'm sorry I was a shitty person to you. Like, I'm actually proud of who you are. And I'm like, are you fucking with me? Like, because, you know, like, I thought he was just bullshit and pulling my leg, but the thing was, like, he wasn't. You know, I think I think people can change. It's just they need to see the good side, not just like the bad of it, because that's what they're.
I agree. People can change. It's just that they don't, and that's why I specified most evangelicals. I think there are some that have changed. Like Seth Andrews used to be a Fox News watching evangelical conservative Christian, but he's not anymore. So obviously, yes, they can change. It's that most of them are not going to. Some of them will, and that's why I like averages, because they account for some of the variance that you would otherwise see, like in your case of people changing, or like in Seth Andrews' case where he changes. So I would say that over the average, evangelical conservatives in the United States are not going to change their beliefs.
Well, hell, even I changed, man. Like, you know, I was never homophobic or anything, but I did think when I was young that the Bible was right about condemning homosexual marriage. And then when I turned 17, and I was like, this is a crock of shit.
Yeah,
I
people
think
can
what you're
change.
saying
I
is
just don't
very
think that
broad brush.
with this demographic, it's very.
I think it's very broad
going to
brush.
happen.
There is a possibility of everybody changing. I think making statements like that.
I think it's pretty well. I would say that all the data indicates that, especially with evangelical conservatives, specifically in the United States, the chances of them changing their views are slim to none.
To be fair, I probably go slightly further than that and say the chance most humans don't change their mind very often.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Like even like I was watching a debate. Vosh was debating somebody. It was an old debate, and he literally brought every fact and every piece of data he needed to show that this person was just completely wrong and was completely misrepresenting his position. And this guy would sit there at the end and just stutter over words to try to come up with some excuse to justify what he believes, because these people don't change their minds even when you show them explicitly that they're wrong. And that's just a human thing.
We're just going to read what Rage says, since he can't actually come in because he's wussing out.
Well, he's not wussing out. The man's got fucking.
I've got a question.
He's wussing out. He's got a cold.
He's sick.
Right. The Red Duck says, religion is often the product of childhood indoctrination. These beliefs are the hardest to change, and this is why we argue on the approach all the time.
Stephen, you've been very quiet. Have you anything you would like to add? You were born a Catholic, I would assume, yes?
Yeah, I was.
Are you out in the sun today, man? Your skin's awful red. You know, or is that just you being Irish?
Well, I mean, I was out in the sun today, but I mean, then again, it's like, you know, it's autumn, so like the sun is not hot enough to. Anyway, I don't know why my skin looks better. Anyway,
hello, Josh.
Hey.
Yeah, so
welcome to the pigsty.
There was a few things that were kind of said there, and I agree. I agree in large part with what Leo said. I think that, you know, that like it is possible for everybody to change. It is possible for everybody to kind of better themselves. But I think that when we say that, at least when I say it, I'm kind of talking about in the sense of like, you know, if you are dealing with something such as, you know, suicidal thoughts or like general spouts of you know, anxiety or anorexia or any of these sorts of things, that it is possible to kind of overcome them and to better yourself in that sense. Why I agree in large part with what Leo said is because the vast majority of people, and this is true for everybody, this is true for me, it is true for the hardest of hard Trump supporter, we don't usually think that we're wrong. Exactly. And so when you are being given information, as Leo just said about a Vosh debate, by the way, Vosh, fucking love him. Anyway,
it's awesome, comrade.
Oh man, take your hedge out of his arse.
Steven, can I ask you and Leo a question real quick?
Hold on, let Steven finish his statement.
I was
sorry.
It's like, yeah, it's just that like people don't generally go around living their day-to-day life thinking that they hold beliefs that are not true. So it's very, very, very difficult when you are like confronted with things that are differing to your beliefs, and you have to like overcome that. It's very, very like rare that you will change your opinion on the spot. Like it's usually something that happens, and then you go away for months, if not years, and do research and investigation, and then you change your mind.
I got a question.
It is possible, but it's just a very long process.
Yes.
Let Quentin ask his question, then you can ask yours.
So I guess my question is to all of you, with the exception of Tog. What do you think, as American evangelical? I can't say the word. Sorry.
Evangelism.
Thank you. What do you think that these people need to like have in front of them, or shown, or done to be more accepting of LGBTQ?
Honestly, I don't know. And again, I'm speaking averages here, so this is not like fully inclusive, but I would say that it is the case for most of them. They're just not going to change. Those are generally the older ones. Like if you meet somebody who's 27 years old and grew up in a strict Southern Baptist house, you know, they believe what the Bible says, you know, evolutionism is wrong, and that's just anti-God, and the guys are going to burn in hell. Yeah, I know. I was trying to put myself in the character. Somebody who's younger and who holds those beliefs, I think, is more malleable because they haven't had all the experiences. And I think that it's not going to be data that's going to change somebody's mind like that. It's going to be an experience that shows them that the world straightforwardly is fundamentally different from how they think it is. But with somebody who's much older, who's already lived through those experiences, I think it's a lot harder. And I think that's why we find that with a whole slew of different ideas, older people generally are less likely to change their minds on things than younger people are, and changing somebody's minds on something that is very core to who they are, because if something's very core to who you are, you build who you are around that becomes a centralized aspect of your personality, and that is the reason why it's so hard to change those things. But somebody who is younger hasn't had all the experiences that can change those things, because I tend to believe, and this is just my opinion, that it's generally the experiences that are going to change those really solid core aspects of somebody's personality rather than facts and logic, so to speak.
Right.
You'd usually find that someone would come across the situation that personal tell them, but then that comes down the same route of personal testimony is always more powerful.
Right, but do you think that's the only way that they're
Welcome, Dr. Josh.
I know, I was trying. I said it in the private chat. We said it.
I know, but still.
We're always very glad to have Dr. Josh join.
How are you doing, Dunder
doing
Mifflin?
You guys go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Wait, I, Dr. Josh.
No, it was
you
totally
awesome
Manda
person,
that
you.
interrupted. Just making that clear. It was definitely Manda that interrupted.
I'm allowed.
I'm just wondering, like, do you guys think that that's the personal experience is the only way that's going to change people's opinion? Because, or do you think that there could be another little outlier out there that we don't know? Like, it doesn't I'm not saying like you're gonna hit them with statistics and that's gonna be like, oh yeah, that changes my mind. But like, I'm sure that there's got to be something out there, because like if there wasn't, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have, like, even before I knew I was pansexual, I changed my mind on the fact that the Bible doesn't tell to kill homosexuals. You know, I had somebody show me the right way, and it wasn't data. You know, so what I'm saying
think that data and statistics, facts, information can change some people's minds. It is very, very rarely, and I think this depends on how core the thing that you're trying to change is to an individual's identity. The chances of them changing right then and there are practically slim to none. You give somebody time to think on it, that might change their minds. But I think that's something that's effective, and a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me. I'm almost done. But I think that you need to be hard and you need to be firm when you're presenting facts. Like, I'm not saying be a dick about it, but I'm not saying be that nice guy like, oh, well, I mean, this is what the data says, but you can have your opinions if you want. No, you need to be like, your opinions are stupid. You are obviously opposed to all of the data we have on this. If you have contradicting data, great, present it. But if you don't, then you need to admit that you're wrong, or admit that you obviously have a bias you're not willing to
breathe.
You need to be firm.
Breathe. Take a big deep breath.
Can I just present a theory really quick?
Go on,
in
Manda.
terms of the whole,
And I'm going to jump to Josh and put him in the spot. But go on ahead, Manda.
The whole, you know, how there are a lot of, some people use the Bible as reasoning to hate gays, okay, with the LGBTQ. I feel, unfortunately, in terms of changing, Quentin, a lot of those people only use the Bible as an excuse because they already hate. I'm not saying that's everybody, but I'm saying there's a big percentage out there that just pick and choose things in the Bible to say, hey, this is it. I have a reason to hate this, and use it as a backup. So I think a lot of them just won't change. That's all.
I guess, like, do you think that I'm just the exception then? Like, as a joke? I'm making a joke. Ignore me.
Who was the exception? I didn't hear that.
Me.
Oh.
Dr. Josh, I know you were busy before you come in. Did you get to hear any of it before?
No, it's all fresh.
We were just talking about how Pope Francis had, kind of said civil unions were okay. And I had the idea that it was a reason to get more of the progressives in, because the Catholic Church is losing a lot of people and they need the younger generation. Whereas Dave said it was a reason to say, we'll accept this, but no fucking way in gay marriage. You can have your civil unions, but that it's stopping them from being able to have an actual marriage. So that was pretty much the topic.
Yeah, that's sort of like a stopgap, sort of putting it off for a wee while.
I think it's virtue signaling. I really do. Because why would he not just come out and say, dude, let gay people get married? Like, the Catholic Church, no church owns marriage. And that is true. It doesn't. Marriage existed long before religions ever did.
The way that they have it over here now is whenever we didn't have the government for that long, government stepped in and just getting gay marriage, because we did have civil unions, but there's now gay marriage over here, but they have left it down to the church. So if you are a member of the LGBT community and you're accepted in your church and you can go every Sunday and do your bit, then I'm sure that the church will accept you to get married there. But if you are an LGBTQ, doesn't go to church regularly and are not accepted, and you just walk in the street, if that church isn't doesn't accept people like that, then they can't say no. And
I feel like what Pope Francis is doing to kind of make a meme out of this, some people in here are going to get it, some probably aren't, is that episode from South Park where they're trying to get the mayor of Colorado to legalize gay marriage, same-sex marriage. And he says, well, how about instead of getting married, you guys can be butt buddies. So you wouldn't be man and wife, you would be butt buddies. Like, I feel like that's what Pope Francis is doing. He's saying, no, it's not marriage. You won't be married. You'll be butt buddies.
But the reason that I felt this way is because there are a few things that Pope Francis has come out in a progressive manner, like accepting climate change is one of them. There are a couple others, but I just have seen a pattern of it and thought it was about, are we progress? Are our religions progressing? Are they deciding to move forward from, what they used to be into something more progressive that the younger generation will accept? Dr. Josh, you're someone that, was religious. Your wife is Christian. What do you think about that? Have you seen progress in terms of even the religion that you used?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it changes or it dies. So I mean, I think you have sort of small bastions, comparatively speaking, of these sort of NIFB type congregations that will become more and more insular, and even though they become stronger and more difficult to break, perhaps, or reason with, they don't tend to draw great masses. As far as I can tell. So, things like the Episcopal Church, which is obviously very close to Anglican, the church that we went to had 2 of the 3 priests were members of the LGBTQ community, very openly so. And, things like dogmatic adherence to doctrines was not really a thing. I remember having a conversation with one of the priests, and she said, I said, when you were in seminary, how much did they emphasize, Greek and Hebrew and Aramaic? And she said, it's not really all that important. And it's not. Like, I mean, to their, method of interpreting the text, it's not terribly critical. So, yeah, I mean, I think just as you're saying, this younger generation, I mean, when slavery falls out of social norm, religion has to develop with it. And people can make, arguments that religion is what drove that, but I don't see that.
No.
I can make a statement that's probably going to refuse me. And to a certain point here, saying earlier, and we were talking about the fact that people don't like members of the LGBT church, then decides that they're accepted. They're still going to hate, regardless of what the church tells them. And looking at the church and taking what Manda said about, they're doing this to plagiate the people and just doing this to be progressive to keep their members. That's just something they're going to do. So, looking at it from the Catholic Church's point of view, they're screwed if they are and they're screwed if they don't. If they be progressive, they're going to get called out for plagiating. And if they're being progressive and actually genuine about it, they're doing it to keep their numbers. So, does Manda just fucking hate religion? Is that what it is?
So, if I can throw something in there, like, a lot of the times when people bring up like denominations of churches, they don't think of non-denominational churches, and like that's a reason why. But they don't think as a church, they don't really think of these. And I'm gonna be honest, like the reason why I stayed non-denominational when I converted back is because they're more accepting of a lot more things than 90% of the denominations of Christianity. I'm gonna put quotations around that because they don't act like real Christians.
You can't define it's the problem.
Right.
It's not something you can work with. It's because they can pick and choose which bits.
It's more of like, hey, we don't really give a shit who you are, what you identify as, or who you love. If you want to be a Christian, come on in. That's what a non-denominational church is.
Here's another question, though, because as the religions continue to progress and they move away from these things that they believe the Bible has been telling them since, for 2,000 plus years, are they becoming more disingenuous to their own religion, to their own beliefs?
I really don't think so. Like, I don't think it's just disingenuous because, like, I've actually had a few conversations in the last couple of weeks where, like, a few Christians and I get together, and we actually brought this question up. Like, now that, like, if the Bible was written today, it would look a whole lot different than what it did back then, because back then there were a lot more restrictions with society, and society as a whole is moving on and moving forward and trying to become a bit more acceptable to a lot of things. And I think that, you know, instead of being hateful and sounding like it's condemning of almost everything, I think the Bible, if it was written nowadays, would be a lot accepting to a lot of different things.
Okay.
Saul, you have been very quiet, and I noticed you just unmuted. I'm going to give you the floor, man.
It's because I went and got another pint. It's what's this one? Peanut butter stout.
Oh, that's.
I know it's
really
probably an
fucking
abomination
good.
in Ireland. I apologize if that offends you.
I don't drink stout or beer or any of that at all. I just don't like. I'm from County Armagh, so I'm big into the apples and the cider, man.
Oh yeah, I can drink some cider.
What MathPig was telling us is that he has a huge flapping vagina between his legs.
Saul,
I had to.
the floor is yours.
Well, so you know the question is, I think, kind of the original topic, right? Is Pope Francis kind of trying to, you know, maybe pander and you know, and I completely disagree with anybody that would say that the Bible promotes violence against anybody for same-sex attraction, right? And so I think there is a point there that some of the evangelicals that if what Francis is really trying to get at is you still got to treat people with dignity and respect, right? You can disagree or want them to avoid things that you believe are harmful for them, but still treat them with dignity and respect. I mean, those individuals probably exist in, you know, the young earth creationists, like far, you know, literalist evangelical circles right now. So they're probably not going to leave that to come to the Catholic Church just because they think the Pope might be indicating that the church is gonna change its stance on the morality of the same-sex actions, right? Which is what it's different from that, changing that versus saying we still have to treat people with dignity and respect. You don't kick your kid out of the house because you find out there's same-sex attraction. And I've got personal experience with this as well. So, I mean, it's I didn't need the Pope to tell me to treat my child with dignity and respect just because they're same-sex attracted.
Going off Leo's comment on age, listening to your voice, I assume you're not 70.
I'm 50.
Wow.
Yeah, you do not sound it.
Dude, yeah, I was about to say, you do not sound
I was
70.
like,
No,
I thought he
no.
was gonna say he was 30.
I was
Yeah,
thinking
well,
mid-30s, yeah, doing well, so.
I post my workouts on my Twitter as well, so my fitness doesn't indicate that I'm 50 either. I can outrun the 30-year-olds and the 20-year-olds.
You'll find your legs.
I'm sure you can outrun me because I'm fat, so.
Nobody in here can outrun me because I'm part black, so you all are screwed.
Dave, don't
Well,
leave. Don't leave. Don't
Even though I
leave,
got
Dave.
5 kids, we didn't get married till we were 30. We didn't meet each other till we were 30. So, you know, I had some easy miles on the chassis, and now we got 5 kids, and it's starting to catch up with me fast.
Manda, can I ask you a question? Oh.
Where the hell is everybody going, dude? What is going on right now?
What happened is I added an extra column so I could bring Carlton in. Dave then left because he didn't know that. And then everybody panicked and everybody left to make space. And now everybody's on a completely different screen. Give me a second. Keep talking. Carlton, thanks for coming.
Leroy Jenkins. I forgot what I was going to ask. Shit.
So can I go now?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. I'll let room for other people. Have fun. I'll be back later.
We can't hold 10 people. We don't need to leave. Nobody needs to leave, right? Who is not on screen? You talk away amongst yourselves.
So, actually, I think I remember the question, and I'll say screw it and ask everyone.
What the hell is...
He's just rearranging stuff. Ignore him.
So, say tomorrow, all the churches are like, you know what, we're gonna take the Catholic Church as an example. We're not gonna say we accept gay marriage, but we accept them as partners. Do you guys think that that's one step closer to where they need to be, or do you think it's just useless and they should just accept the whole thing right now?
I would say both. I mean, it is a progressive step, but it still doesn't go far enough. It was kind of like saying, well, yeah, well, black people can't be slaves, but we're still going to segregate them from the rest of society. Yeah, that's a step in the right direction, but
it was still
you're not going
over 100 years of bullshit, so
you're still not going as far as you need to be going.
Right. I like the thing is though, I really don't like. I don't want to say. I don't like saying
after
this.
your
but...
statement, Carlton, we're gonna jump. Or sorry, after your statement, Quentin, we're gonna jump over to.
Okay. I'll make it quick and then shut up. I don't think that that people like Christians are gonna like. Oh, damn it! I don't think that these kind of people are gonna change overnight or in the next year or so. But I think if we can get them to maybe change a bit of something, that way we get some leeway, I think then over time we can finally get them to start taking steps in the right direction. But again, it's not going to be like, oh, like I don't think having the mentality, oh, you have to accept all of our changes or you're just a dick. I don't think that's the approach to take. I think it's like we get them some leeway and then, we fucking show them how to go. And I'll shut up now.
Carlton, thank you very much for joining us. Always few and far between and never. You've been listening, Carlton. Have you anything that you or ask Saul on the topics?
Yeah, well, I am interested in hearing more of what Saul thinks, but I think my sort of thoughts on it, because my partner and I were talking about it, which is that maybe it's just an attempt for Pope Francis, like I think what he's already been doing, which is at least attempting to keep Catholicism, relevant in society. I think it was touched on before, which is, religions are constantly, evolving. So he wants to continue to push that forward. So it's like, okay, let's keep getting more and more people in here versus it being some sort of nefarious scheme to say, hey, how many more people can we get in here so that we can dominate society? I think it's just, hey, we need to stay relevant, and the times they are changing.
Yeah. But and there's also a little bit of the factor that, as I mentioned, the Catholic Church is bleeding numbers, and they also, have a lot of lawsuits that cost a lot of money right now.
Oh yeah.
So kind of necessary for them to pay for those. So
Pope Francis can come out and say, gay people can have civil unions, but apparently can't come out and say, thou shalt not rape little boys. I don't.
No, they won't. I have my uncle is a Monsignor in the Catholic Church, and he will literally leave the room if you try to bring up that subject. So it's pointless.
It's sad. And I've known a lot of Catholics like, do we have to talk about this? I'm like, yeah, we kind of do. If a massive organization with literally billions of members worldwide, the leader of which has more power than the president of the fucking United States, is actively not just engaging in the rape and the sodomization of little boys, but covering it up, yeah, that's kind of something we should be talking about, especially since this has been going on for literal centuries, if not millennia.
Yeah, and that's also part of the reason why they're losing numbers, because they don't exactly have the best image right now. But I mean, it's not just the Catholic Church though. A lot of churches are losing numbers, especially as like I said, the younger people are not really into church very much, and they're not attending. They're certainly not paying into it like our my mother fucking gives $20 every week. She has for as long as I can remember to the Catholic Church.
Yep.
People in their 20s, early 30s, even my age, they're not doing that shit. So
we're too poor to be tithed. Sorry. it's God. Why does God need money anyway? Why can't you just pray?
Because he doesn't want to be in the plane with the other demons.
What the fuck are you doing?
Oh my God.
Yeah, why is it just your shirt on mic there? I mean, on cam there, bub.
Right, ignore my camera that you can see. Right,
put it on a fucking icon.
Tyler Perry offered me such a nice deal on that jet, I couldn't help but buy.
Okay, there you go. Right, now there's a slot, now everybody's in. It's the first night on the new setup, okay? I went full screen. This is what's called live production. Any sort of a decent channel like Dr. Josh or anything like here knows that these things happen. Live production takes a bit of a... Okay. Fuck
I
off.
love you, MathPig.
I'm running the camera on 2 scenes. That's why. It doesn't matter. Anyway, thank you, everybody. We're all now back. We're at full party. Dave, thanks for joining us. Did you get the rat?
No. I want to know why you get a bigger window than the rest of us.
He doesn't anymore. He changed it.
Give me, come on. You know?
No, it's still bigger.
It is bigger. It's bigger than everybody else's because mine's 1920 and it doesn't even... Carlton! You know, how are you doing, Carlton?
Okay, I have a question. Does this acceptance of homosexuality, this test, mean that they are going to stop calling it a perversion? They are going to stop blaming the paedophilia within the church on homosexuals?
Oh, who knows? It depends on what level. Are you talking like the congregatory members, or are you talking like the church leaders?
I'm talking in general. Because
I think the church leaders might, but most of the people who like are just your typical Catholics probably won't. But see, the Catholic Church is funny anyway because it's generally a little bit more progressive, and Catholics are generally a little bit more progressive than pretty much any other form of Christianity that's out there. Like if you look at how Catholics vote and you look at how
I said this
Baptists
earlier,
vote,
over here in Ireland, you know, the Catholics are a lot more staunch. The Catholics are a lot more go to chapel and all the rest. Like I used to date a girl maybe 8 or 9 years ago whose father went to chapel every single day and 3 times on a Sunday. Very staunch. You walk into the house, Jesus everywhere, crosses everywhere. You know, over here, I would find that the Catholics are a lot more staunch than they would be.
Oh yeah.
You're saying that they're more relaxed in America, but you're making a broad statement.
Well, compared to the evangelicals, Catholics are not like even if you look at how they vote, a lot of Catholics tend to do a little bit more centrist or center-left voting, whereas evangelicals are firmly on the right, and some Catholics are too. I mean, it's not all inclusive, but Catholics are just generally a little bit more progressive in numerous respects than measured against evangelicals here in the United States.
If we could just do a wee quiet shout out for Rib. Rib has to bounce. Thanks very much, Rib, for bouncing literally after I fucked up the live production trying to make. Very much appreciate that.
His name's Stephen, not Rib anymore.
Yeah,
so
Thanks for having me, guys.
Right.
Let me know what day that debate's going to be scheduled because I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'd like to. Only I have been in and out of 4 different predominantly right-wing servers today on Discord, and no one has taken the fucking bait, dude.
What
no
the fuck? Why do you hate yourself, Steven?
Yeah, he looks really tired. That's what the stress is. It's not the sun, it's the right.
Yeah, it's dealing with the right-wingers.
No, it's not even that. No, I kind of said it there. I've been in work placement from Monday to Friday, and then working like actually working on from Friday to Sunday. I literally haven't had a day off in like 6 weeks, so I'm fucking knackered. I'm just running on autopilot at this point. So
yeah, that sounds.
And thank
that
you
sounds
so
like
much for coming by.
That sounds like me at the end of every harvest season or planting season when I was actively in the agriculture industry. Like, you're the 3rd day in and you're already on autopilot because you're working 16 to 20 hours a day. It fucking sucks. Somebody's got to feed the world, though.
You got anything to plug before you go, honey?
Well, I would have liked to have been able to plug the debate that me and Leo were kind of talking about doing a tag team on, but yeah, no, it's not looking good.
Can I ask what the debate's on?
The debate, it was kind of shifting between has Trump doomed his re-election to just a kind of like a general Trump v Biden thing, but you know.
I think I got 2 people in mind that I can have you guys debate on. If I
that is going to be a really hard debate for me to do because there are no positive points I can bring up about Biden other than he's not Trump. Well, see if you're not. I don't know. Are you a socialist? Are you like a market socialist or anything, Stephen?
I'm a sock den. I'm a social democrat.
Okay. Would you debate socialism versus capitalism?
Oh yeah, obviously.
Okay. We should do something like that.
Yeah, I'll do that. No problem.
Steven, you should get Leo.
That is an easy one.
Get Leo an invite to the iDebates.
I'm like not on. Yeah, I'm just like not on Discord anymore at all.
Yeah.
I just don't have a desire to be. I just don't.
So.
Right. Well, on that, Stephen,
tiresome.
thank you very much for coming, man.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Peace out, comrade.
So.
And then there was only one socialist.
I have a question.
Okay.
I think I messed up the question I was asking you guys earlier. Is like, so what I meant by that is like, do you think that if they give us a little leeway, like, you know, as like the evangelicals, fuck, I cannot say that word correctly, gave some leeway, like, hey, you know what, we'll accept this on this condition, but like we're not going any further on that. Do you think that over time they'll start to slowly let down that like wall and like build towards accepting more and more, or do you think they're just going to stick to that and they'll say fuck off to anything else?
So
they probably would.
I don't think that. Sorry, I suspect that you won't see something like that. I think particularly for the evangelical community, particularly the more conservative it goes, if it's not doctrinal, if they're not convinced of that there's a valid interpretation that allows for the thing that you're talking about, it will only further entrench. Right? They're not going to. I have yet to encounter someone who's an evangelical, particularly fundamentalist, move from something they're convinced of doctrinally, something they're convinced that the text should be interpreted to say, even if it puts them, maybe even especially if it puts them in a bad light.
Right.
So there's a guy, Gregory Boyd, Dr. Gregory Boyd.
Why does that name ring a bell?
Yeah, it does.
There's a guy online, Dr. Randall Rouser.
Yep, I know that name.
And there are other people on Twitter that I've interacted with that seem to. So Boyd has this idea that the idea of inspiration, inerrancy, that probably most of us would think about when you hear those terms. It doesn't really. We understand that incorrectly. So passages like genocide, slavery, rape in the Old Testament, they're not they embrace those. They're not problematic, but they weren't written by God, right? They weren't inspired by God in the same way. So men came up with those ideas. And what that does is that allows somebody to say, okay, so I can say that slavery is bad, right? Even though the Old Testament endorses it, I can say that it's bad and say it with a clear conscience because that portion wasn't written by God, right? Or wasn't inspired by God. So you have to have an interpretive framework that allows for it, as I think as an evangelical, in order to be able to make that shift. I don't think they're going to say, all right, I'll give you this, because that's not how. I don't think that's how they're going to function.
So that's how they convince themselves to change their minds.
Right. So, Dr. Josh, I have a question for you. So like, as everyone here knows, like me being a pansexual Christian, if my friends that are Christian like me, we were to try to show people like how they're wrong on and how the Bible isn't really like this, do you think that's going to open up people's eyes, or do you think that's going to just do more damage than it would good?
So I mean, particularly thinking about the overall message about homosexuality in the Bible, that's thorny, I think.
Right.
We've got a couple of videos where we talk about a specific passage, but it's not even the final form of Leviticus 18. It's what was originally there in Leviticus 18, and that's mostly to get people to think, oh, the homosexuality thing, the legislation against homosexuality, that was added later. That was a redaction. That was them reworking what was originally there. I'm hoping that gets some people thinking about the nature of the text. and to question it that way. But I mean, I don't know that this is part of the problem, I think, with conservative evangelical hermeneutics in general, is that you're trying to take the original intent of the text and use that in some way as a moral basis, as opposed to saying, like, what are broad principles that we can glean from this literature? Like, and I'll give an example and then I'll be quiet, but you know, if you were to look at Akkadian,
Josh, we could listen to your voice all.
Yeah.
People have even commented that in the chat.
Yeah, I love your
Keep
voice.
talking, Dr. Josh. You know, have you got a phone book?
But we learned so much from you. Just keep going, keep going.
Well, I appreciate that. If you were to read like Akkadian or Sumerian proverbial literature, like read Proverbs from ancient Mesopotamia, you could get all kinds of things that'll sound a whole hell of a lot like the Proverbs in the Bible, right? And you'll get things like treat your enemies well, for this is what the gods desire, right? Marduk loves when you do something good for someone that does bad to you, right? It's not like a uniquely biblical thing. This is sort of a trope. So so because of that, I wouldn't then advocate, well, we should follow Neo-Assyrian religious practices, right? I mean, that would be weird, and I don't think that would work out very well. But I think that we could go back and look at Sumerian religion or Mesopotamian religion, or Egyptian religious practices, or any of these things, and tease out what are the principles, some of the principles behind this. And then, because you can do that with, I think, really, and probably any religion. The problem, of course, is that you end up sort of finding the things that you already believe, right? Like, I believe that slavery is bad, so I will find the principle behind slavery, and it's to give everybody a chance, maybe, right? I mean, like, that's what you'll do. You'll say, well, like, slavery's bad, so we have to figure out something. But, you know, 50 years ago, beating your kids with a wooden rod, well, you know, that's okay. Of course, that's what we're supposed to do, beat our kids with a wooden rod. Now we look at that and go, okay, well, we're supposed to help them understand that their actions have consequences. You know, that's the principle. So anyway, I think that's the dilemma.
It's like, you know, when they justify suffering in the world and say, well, it's God's way of you know, teaching us a lesson or something like that. Is it, you know, along those paths?
Yeah, and
choosing.
I mean, it's all apologetics.
Okay.
I mean, that's what it is. It's a response to a perceived issue, right? A problem that you're facing, and we know what we believe, at least at its core, has to be right. So how do we defend it? Like, how do we make this fit? And that's, you know, that's okay for theology. It's how theology, I think, kind of works. It's not really good for, you know, like the sciences.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody didn't see, I flashed on screen there for a couple.
You flashed?
Shot of Miles book.
Thank you.
My copy is in the other room.
Hey, the new one comes out tomorrow.
Well, it looks like I have some money to save up to get 2 books now, because I've been really wanting to read your book.
It's on pre-order. Huh?
The new one, the topic for all the people who don't know.
Oh yeah, it's called Learning to Pray in a Dead Language: Education and Invocation in Ancient Sumerian. It's actually a lot more interesting, I think, than it sounds.
So in other words, I'm gonna have to message you every time I read a chapter, because I'm not gonna understand a thing that it says.
So you have Dr. Josh's book beside you, and then you have like a dictionary and a thesaurus beside you.
It's not
Thank
written
God
like
for
that.
Google.
It's not written like that at all. It's written for a popular audience. So what, like, a major part of the book is explaining how kids went to school in the early second millennium. BCE. So it's like, what was the day at school like? What did they learn? What kind of exercises did they do? What did the tablets look like that they were making?
Well, I got lucky last time because I read his book and then I got him to come on the channel and talk to me about it. So I got everything explained to me.
We can do that again.
We have Dr. Josh
doing that again.
Have a
I can't wait to read your book.
For Tar coming up soon, yes?
I didn't hear you.
Is Manda has Dr. Josh coming on the...
Oh.
Very soon.
Yes. On Sunday at 8 p.m. Dr. Josh, what are we talking about?
What are we talking about?
You're talking about Tar.
Ezekiel?
Ezekiel, I knew.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah, I remember that.
All right, Ezekiel
Dr.
26.
Josh,
Yeah.
I still gotta get with you and make a time for you to come on my channel so we can just have a regular conversation.
Cool.
Because I'm too dumb to try to keep up with you logically.
Oh, come on now.
Aww.
Can you say hi?
Hi.
I didn't know that you had a daughter who was Valerian because that is straight up silver hair.
Oh, this is a boy.
That's us. That's all of
Well,
This is Oliver.
Boy.
that makes it even more Valerian because they all had long hair.
Yeah.
You say 早上好.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Are you teaching him communist speak? How dare you?
Walsh Oliver.
Adorable. Oh.
Okay. You want to go watch your show?
Sure.
Okay, can you say 再见?
Oh.
Hey, what
it's awesome, man.
That's just mean. Okay. I mean, I taught Angel physics at that age, but still. It's mean,
Shoot, I don't even think I can learn that at my age.
I thought
I
I was
tried.
doing well last week. I got Elena to write her name. And we're reading Michael. Right, say it, Dave. What is it? Michael Crichton?
Crichton. It's
Crichton.
fucking Crichton.
Michael Crichton. We're reading Michael Crichton Pray at the minute.
Have you not watched either Red Dwarf or Farscape?
I have watched Farscape more than I need to.
And who's the lead character in Farscape?
That guy that's in Stargate SG-1 towards when it gets really bad.
What's his name in Farscape?
And I can't tell you, I've been through this with Manda. I am no good with that.
All right, who's the robot in Red Dwarf?
Look at you with your bad memory. Crichton.
Oh, yeah, like you remember.
Yeah. Right, you're totally taking this off topic. Or
Yeah,
all
I have
off
no idea
topic.
what you guys are talking about.
This must be like some British TV show or something.
Saul, do you have anything to add to what Dr. Josh said?
Well, circling way back, I mean, it'll kind of tie into what Dr. Josh said. Is Josh okay, or is Dr. I don't know if it's just Doctor as the like Dr. Evil or Doctor like for real, like PhD.
No,
PhD. For real.
Oh, very doctor for real.
But David
It
asked,
doesn't matter, though. It doesn't matter.
David asked about whether this is an indication that the church's position on sexual morality, and I would broad brush it as that would change, and I would say no, it won't, because unlike the evangelical Christians that just say, hey, we're going to go with our interpretation of what we think this ancient text means, the church's position on sexual ethics starts with it's a basis in natural law first, and then almost like it using logic to then, well, what can we infer from the text as well? And so but that also applies to everything else in terms of sexual ethics. So sex outside of marriage, use of contraception, so it's not just a linkage to homosexuality, but it's the entirety of what human sexuality is naturally ordered towards.
I would disagree on virtually everything you said about natural law of sexuality. I've forgotten the way you phrased it. My apologies.
I would just want to know what the fuck.
No, let Dave finish,
natural law is.
Leo, breathe and let Dave finish.
My issue, no, I mean the point that I thought was important to make is I don't see how they can support. I don't see how they can claim to support the movement into law of civil union while still maintaining that it's immoral.
Well, right, and that's why I think that taking the Pope's comments on an interview, or even if we was to write just a personal document about it, I think somebody mentioned this. I mean, it's not going to get spun. I'm air quoting that as just his opinion. That's really the reality of it. It's his opinion. He can have his opinion on it, but it doesn't change what would be considered the ordinary magisterial teaching. So.
Dr. Josh had to go watch his son, but he said thank you to everybody and enjoy the rest of his trip.
I got mine running around off camera.
Mine's 16 and out fucking around the skateboard, so I don't know where he is.
Skateboards.
These are all making me jealous.
I mean, if somebody wants, they can adopt me. I mean, I'm only 22.
Oh, Carlton, you've just been sitting there doing your Carlton David Thinker sort of look, Have you anything that you would like to contribute? I know you got cut off earlier when I asked you. Anything that you would like to add now that we humbled on for a wee bit long?
No.
Oh, fuck's sake, man. Think of something. Come on.
No, I liked what Dr. Josh had to. I think I missed some of what Saul said in regards to what he said, a natural sexual preference or something like that.
You can repeat on that topic, Saul, so Carlton can actually say something on camera.
Yeah. So the church looks at human sexuality from an observation and in a reasoning perspective, and so the position, for example, on birth control being that, well, it's thwarting what the normal ends of the act would be. And what's interesting about that with regard to all the other Christian denominations is that up until the 30s, they were all anti-contraception. And so I know Dr. Josh mentioned that the evangelicals wouldn't change their position on homosexuality, but the reality is that they certainly could. And I think what would happen is that the two, let's say there's a pastor and an associate pastor, they would just say, well, I'm going to open up a church down the block, and the people that agree with my opinion on this are going to come start attending my sermons, and the people that don't, will stay here, whichever position that might be. So I think that even the evangelicals potentially, it doesn't mean that they won't change, but it's not a centralized hierarchy, you might say, to say, well, the evangelical church says X, because that's not denominationals in general, or it's a widespread opinions on different theological doctrines, not just human sexuality, of course, but I mean, even stuff like, whether God's a Trinity or not.
Okay. Anybody have any response to that? Ricardo?
Yeah. No, I'm not sure if it's a response or if it's a little bit to add on top of that, because I think Saul is right in there on what he said. The Catholic Church, it's like the what's the word that I'm looking for? The comparison would be the Catholic Church. It's like a very big wheel. It takes a long time to go a full turn. While the evangelicals, they are all smaller, so they can either regenerate or keep on the same track. It kind of depends. But there's one thing that I've been listening, and I'm kind of not getting some of the point of views. If evangelicals are going to be staunch in their positions, why are they losing members?
Yeah, I mean,
obviously, the older ones, the ones that are in the church, they might not change their opinions. It's going to be difficult for an evangelical to change their position in relation to GEOSAM, because and I say just because, like just because their kid is gay. But obviously the brother may be different. Otherwise, why are they losing numbers? They've been losing numbers for a few years now. So obviously there's ways of changing their minds. And I think that this Catholic, the Pope, it's not going to change their mind, because they don't see him as a leader in any way, shape or form. but it will be helpful because it will put the Catholic position, or the Catholics, in a more open position, I would say. I don't think that the Catholic doctrine is going to change in any way, shape, or form because of this. Like I said, this is it's just George Bergoglio's opinion. Has nothing to do with Pope Francis.
Well, and one thing I mentioned at the very beginning was if you look at the actual Spanish words that he used, one of the possible interpretations would be like a civil coexistence. To mean that, you know, if you're kicking your kid out of the house because your son or daughter says that they have same-sex attraction, that's bullshit. You don't like kick your kid out of the house because of that. Which doesn't mean that you say, hey, do whatever you want, even though I think it's harmful to you. But you still need to treat people with dignity and respect. And I do think that, yeah, there's definitely some fringe, you know, folks in the evangelical world that, you know, if the message is you can still love your kids even if you disagree with them about their actions, which is different than the proclivity, is what the church would say, right? I mean, I have proclivities that would get me thrown in jail if I acted on them. I have proclivities that would get me divorced if I acted on them. You know, my struggle is, well, don't act on those or suffer the consequences in those cases legally or, you know, socially with my spouse, right? But that doesn't mean that just because we disagree with somebody's proclivities that we treat them as something less than human or, you know, come out of your house. So I definitely think if that's the message the Pope is trying to send, and certainly it is, even if he also has a hidden agenda, you know, there's a lot of truth in what he's saying, and that his one failing I've heard people say is that he's too merciful. I mean, his entire papacy has really revolved around, you know, what would be called maybe an excess of mercy, you know, for the folks that have the Bible passage, right? The prodigal son, and when he gets done blowing half of his inheritance on partying, and he comes back just because he wanted to come back and be a servant, then his dad like goes running out to him. And so, you know, that idea that no matter what actions people have done, they're still human beings, and we need to treat them with dignity and respect, even if we disagree with them.
Yeah, and I still go back to the Amoris Laetitia, the book that he wrote, because I don't have the book with me now, but I remember him saying on the book something about unrealistic expectations being a burden on people's lives, and that the ministers or the priests don't usually have the training in order to deal with the burden that is put on people's lives because of different sexual choices. So there are sentences in the book that I remember that were clearly not a change into not necessarily a change of the church doctrine, but it was more of a stepping stone so that the Catholics on a day-to-day life could at least have some more grounds to stand in order to be more open towards people that are different. Although I don't agree with the terminology, but that's fine. So I think that this, taking a look at this statement as any more than, first of all, George Bergoglio's opinion, and then just a message to the general population, it's taking it a little bit too far. And there's also on the Catholic Church, so when you have the trad Caths, they're not going to change their opinion ever. They're going to be as evangelicals are in the United States. So the more orthodox or the more traditional Catholics, the trad Caths, they will never change their opinion because they are stuck on that view of the Bible, and they will not change it. They didn't do it with Vaticanum Secundum. They're not going to do it now, or the Concilium Secundum.
Yeah, for those that might not be familiar with the term, the trad cats, that's I agree. They are extremist, right-leaning individuals that, I mean...
Amy Coney Barrett style Catholics?
No, I would say she's not.
No, she's not.
If we could ask that, Saul, if we could just tap that, if you're talking about that, consider. Any thoughts on that?
I'm sorry, what was the...
I speak to why really quick?
Yes, go on ahead, Pet. If you can give context of what we're talking about as well.
What?
If you can give context to the audience who don't know the shorthand what we're talking about.
So, they're trying to push through Supreme Court justice to give a supermajority in the Supreme Court. The Republicans are directly stupid because it doesn't represent the population of our country. But regardless, this is this woman that they're putting in is another Catholic. There are already 6. She would be the 6th on the Supreme Court if so. But she is extremely Catholic. She has spoken for hate groups before. They've hired her and she's come and speak, but then said, "Oh, I didn't know that they were," which is fucking bullshit. She has made it very clear that she will put her God and her religion before, the fucking law and the Constitution, which means getting rid of healthcare, which means getting rid of Roe v. Wade, which means getting rid of gay marriage. She is all fucking for this shit.
Okay,
so
we're understanding Manda is very opinionated towards that and not towards.
No, not at all, Saul. That was not.
It's not even. The worst thing is, it's not even against.
Sorry, Dave, can't see you. Do you want to poke your head out behind the camera?
No. It's not even. It's.
Is that a staircase? What is that?
Dave has a giant rat.
There's a giant rat down in our back passage.
And Dave has actually fucking give this thing rat poison, and it looked at Dave and went, "Go fuck yourself," and still lived.
It stole the rat poison.
Dave has set up
to poison you.
Dave has decided to set up a camera to watch when the rat appears, so he can sick his Jack Russell on the damn thing.
Anyway, like I said, that was not towards you, Saul.
No, the point being that she has made it very clear over her career and her statements that she puts her faith ahead of the Constitution.
Oh yeah,
ahead of, and this is the concern.
Another thing that I wanted to add to that I don't get, and you'll hear this a lot in the United States, almost exclusively amongst conservative circles, is, they're what is it? Textualists or constitutionalists.
Originalists.
Yeah, originalists. Or textualist is another term for that. Where they try to interpret the Constitution, Jesus, as it was originally written, which just doesn't make sense, because the whole purpose of a Supreme Court justice is to interpret the Constitution within the modern era in the best way that they think that they should do that.
Does it say that in the Constitution? That's what the Supreme Court's job is, though?
Yes. Like, that's the whole purpose of a justice, is to interpret the law. Like, if that's not what they're supposed to do, there's no point in having a justice. They're literally in the job description, it is to interpret the law.
Right, but you added in today's like modern or cultural change.
Why would we want to interpret the Constitution as it was 35 years ago?
Because it allowed slavery.
Well, it was the document that the founding fathers set up, but what they also set up was that the legislative branch makes the laws, and then the SCOTUS looks at the Constitution and says, well, is this in compliance or out of compliance with what the Constitution says, yes or no? But if the answer is no, they still provided a provision to allow for the Constitution to evolve, right?
Yeah.
And so that's with the 2/3 majority and then 2/3 of the states. And so they allowed for their original idea, let's say, about what America principles were going to be, were documented in there. But what they wanted to make sure of is that the legislative branch, which is basically elected on a 51% majority, and the executive branch, also a 51% majority, wasn't able to change those original ideas on their own. But if, as a country, over 2/3 of the people and 2/3 of the state wanted to change those original ideas, they provided for that. So, I mean, when people say originalist, I think that actually is the right way for them to be in for the SCOTUS.
So what is originalism?
interpreting the Constitution to the degree that they can with what the founding fathers' original intent was, and that if a law is passed that violates that, then what the country needs to do then is, all right, well then put it up for a constitutional amendment, and if 2/3 of the people and 2/3 of the state agree, then the SCOTUS can't overturn that. So they provided an option basically to override the Supreme Court, but it has to be at least 2/3 of the people, and that's what they're. I guess I see that as their job, right? It's if they start interpreting it by today's standards, well then.
So do you think the Supreme Court at this point, if she gets onto the Supreme Court, do you think we can get "In God We Trust" off everything?
If 2/3 of it's in the preamble, so I guess it's arguable whether that's really.
Where is "In God We Trust" in the preamble?
Oh, you're talking about on the money, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes. On police cars, on everything.
That could probably be changed just by having the.
Shouldn't that be changed though under originalism, since originally, and I'm pretty sure this is outlined in both the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution, that the motto of our country is "A pluribus unum," not "In God We Trust." It was changed in the 50s.
Well, I don't think the Constitution describes what design goes on the money.
Actually, I think it does.
I know the story came about.
Well, not design, but more what the U.S.
I mean, it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court made a decision on it.
Yes.
Okay, if I can just say, we have a person in the chat, Veritas Caritas, if I can pronounce. The link's in the chat. Feel free to join. We're going now for the next 15-20 minutes. If all going well, Dave, you have my Twitch link, yes? Have I taught the bot the Twitch?
No wonder.
Taught the bot the Twitch? I don't think I've taught the bot the Twitch. No, I haven't taught the bot the Twitch. It's twitch.tv/mathpig. We may be streaming the debate live. If anybody wants to join in on that, send me a Twitter message on Twitter.
You're some gluttons for punishment if you're watching that from Ireland. I'm not even going to watch it, and I'm here in the States.
Oh, well, man, in all honesty, I quit my job of 21 years last week and took a week off before I start my new job. So this week's fun. This week's just about enjoying myself, spending time with Manda.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, do something fun. Don't watch that.
Oh, no, it will be fun. It will be fun. Have you seen Manda react to things? It's going to be hilarious.
So you're watching it more for the reactions of others, not so much what.
No, in all honesty, I do. I'm interested in American politics from in and around 2015. Once I seen Trump was going, I give up all TV because it's the best sitcom ever.
I think Twitter shutting down his account was probably the best thing for his chances of re-election that could have happened. That's a joke about because he tweets crap posts quite frequently.
We shall talk about that on the Twitch stream. Carlton, I'm going to keep jumping back to you because you anything you'd like to add. Oh, we got a subscriber and my alert box wasn't even at the top of the fucking screen. Isn't that? Thank you, whoever that was that just subscribed. I missed your name. Thank you for the subscription. Everybody hit subscribe. Like 33% of the people who watch don't subscribe. Hit that button. We're very, very close to the 1,000. 843 on screen is wrong. I'm so close to 869 not being 12. Martin, is there anything you would like to add? Is there anything that you have coming out?
Coming out? I'm working on something, but I don't know. I don't know when it'll come out.
Hey, Lint. Sub to Carlton. You might get a video. I don't know who Milk is.
I could guess who Milk is.
Is Milk? Oh my goodness!
Why are you here? Do you have an opinion on the Catholic Church?
I got bored.
You got bored. You got bored. Tell me you're not.
I'm happy to see you.
Are you Veritas Caritas?
You guys carry on talking. I'll just sit here.
Okay.
Okay.
You're just here for the view. Is that it?
Yeah, I'm here.
Your sexy sweater.
Yeah, I was loving that jumper. Just loving that jumper. So we're sitting here waiting for you, Veritas Caritas, for the last wee while. We're just.
Well, is everyone going to chill themselves out while we wait?
No, I'm going to give Saul the floor, and I'm going to let Saul ask 2 questions to the group, or 2 questions to anyone specifically. As a thank you for coming on, I'm going to give him the power of the stream.
Oh, that's. Yeah, I'm going to play ignorant and not ask any questions when put on the spot. Better to a playground than open my mouth and prove it to everyone.
What's your favorite color, or boxers or briefs? Blue. Any of these questions work. Just fucking pick.
Blue. I'm a self-coached athlete, so I wear boxer briefs, like a spandex.
Good to know.
Lovely.
Very.
I mean, yeah, that might be TMI. I guess I don't know.
Oh no, man! I absolutely.
Where are you?
Because when you're running or cycling, chafing is a bitch for days afterwards. So you gotta maintain some good, like, slick. You don't want your thighs like grinding each other to hamburger. At least you do it once, and then you learn. You've learned that lesson the hard way. And
you should definitely join our group. And if anything, Critical Cripple Dave above you there, look him up on stream. Does a quiz twice a week. It's a lot of fun, and it goes from everything to just silly questions about meatballs out your nose to actual philosophical questions, and it's a lot of fun. There's usually about 6 of us, 20 or 30 people watching. Gets out of control, gets very lewd sometimes as well. You'll have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an amateur Thomist, I guess, so I try to read a lot of Aquinas and Augustine and.
Oh no, philosophy. It doesn't get that deep. We really try and stay away from the educational point. Dave will just ask you, would you kill a child to save everybody in the world from from diseases?
Or would you rather have fish fingers or chicken toes or chicken finger toes or some shit like that?
Fish fingers.
Those kind of thought experiments are worth dialoguing out though and thinking through.
We do though. We end up talking about it for a while.
I think one of the longest questions ever was, what would you rather have, spatula hands or was it whisks?
No.
Whisks or something like that for feet. Whisks for feet or spatulas for hands. Wasn't it? So on that really serious, really serious topic, Catholic traditionalist, are you the same Catholic traditionalist that I know on Discord that keeps telling me to debate Darth Dawkins?
Yeah, I am.
Do you realize that he's been on the channel twice?
You also know that Darth Dawkins...
No, Leo, no, hold on. Let the man answer. Right? Let the man answer.
Yeah. Are you the same guys that he easily refuted, and you guys refused to upload that video on YouTube, and Godless Girl chastised you guys for not doing that?
I've never had
no, totally not me. Actually, I will give Darth.
Connection with God. Wait, stop. We have never had any connection with Godless Girl. Everything he's done with him has been uploaded, and if you came on here just to try to fucking, I don't know what you're doing.
No, that's mine. That was a leading question. I will take responsibility from that. I just wanted to clarify who this person was, just to make sure they're not going to flash a penis on screen or anything like that. It's always good to confirm on just who they are. But no, thank you very much to Asshole 104. The 2 top videos on my channel that have been viewed are down to him coming on. So I am not afraid to show anything that I have. But Catholic traditionalist, I assume that you have been listening to the show tonight. The premise of the original conversation was the fact that the Pope has come out in preference of civil union. I'm going to kick you, stool. Has come out in the preference of civil unions over marriage. We have conflicting views on it. And on that topic, what would be your opinion?
Yeah, well, from my understanding, the Vatican may have clarified it. I'm not sure. But I think what he was saying was that it's in regards to children, homosexual children, that they should be part of the family, and that the film editor took it out of context, what he was saying. So I don't know. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not. I have no idea. But the fact of the matter is...
Civil union.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. But the fact of the matter is, whether he did or not, he's said numerous other heretical things publicly. And therefore, he's not a Catholic, and therefore, he's not a true Pope. He holds no jurisdiction, authority, or office within the Holy Catholic Church.
Says who?
Seriously.
Yeah,
This
several people interrupted me, so I don't know if you heard what I was saying.
No.
Do you understand? Do you know how it looks like how you raising the Pope and how you let the Pope out?
What was that?
Yeah, MathPig, were you able to hear what I said? Because several people interrupted me as I was speaking.
I don't think several people interrupted. Seven people disagreed with your stance. All right, several people did talk over you, but due to your disagreement in your stance. So I will give you the floor for all of 30 seconds. Finish your stance. I'm going to let Manda, if she will come back, say something. Then Dave, and then we will open it up to other people. Go on ahead there. Can I call just shorthand? Can I call you just Trad?
You could call me CT.
CT.
Well, the fact of the matter is, he rejects Catholic teachings. There's numerous infallible dogmatic teachings that he has publicly rejected. And in Catholicism, if you reject even one dogmatic teaching, then you're not a Catholic. You're a heretic, a formal heretic. For example, he rejects the teaching of outside the Catholic Church there is no salvation.
We don't need examples. You've said that that's your opinion. That's grand. Manda, would you have anything that you would like to...
No, I'm just... this is what I was talking about before. Some people will not accept any kind of progression because they will hold on to their hate. And I can't stay, so peace out, bros.
I find it very convenient that the
I'm going to give it to Dave. We said we were going to give it to Dave Stool, so if we can give it to Dave there. Go on ahead, Dave.
Did you accept him? Did you accept him as Pope before this?
By the way, 10-minute warning.
No.
10-minute warning. 10-minute warning. Dave, go on ahead.
When did you accept him as Pope?
No, the last true Pope was Pope Pius XII, to whom died in 1958. All of the post-Vatican II papal claimants have been false popes. They've been anti-popes because they've embraced the heresy of modernism. In other words, they do not accept the Catholic teaching that only the Catholic faith can save someone. In other words, you have to be Catholic. You have to be baptized and you have to be Catholic. They believe that Hindus, Muslims, Buddhists, even atheists can receive salvation, atheists that reject Christ. So the Vatican II religion is a false religion that began in the 1960s.
That's definitely not what Catholicism teaches.
Yeah, the Vatican II Council explicitly
we'll give a retort. You've had the floor there. We've had the floor there.
That's the Vatican II Council, not
we'll give it to
Catholicism.
Leo, we're going to give you the floor for a designated amount of time because we're running out of time, and I know that you can speak without breathing. So we will give you 2 minutes, Leo. 2 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, first off, he started with a no true Scotsman fallacy. Well, he's not a true Pope. And then everything after that he said is pretty much wrong. I literally have a specifically Catholic Bible sitting underneath me right now. Literally everything he said is wrong. Nowhere in any part of the canonical Gospels does it teach that you have to be specifically any denomination of Christianity in order to be accepted into heaven. It simply says that you have to accept the atonement of Jesus Christ as salvation for your sins. So yeah, everything that he said is just demonstrably wrong. Demonstrably wrong.
And would you...
May I respond?
So if I can just give 1 second, CT, I would like to hear Saul's opinion. He is another Catholic who has come and joined us tonight, who I reached out to. I have never met before, who has been very cordial tonight, who has been... And I would like to hear his opinion on the things that you have said before you make a retort.
Yeah, CT's position is what's known as sedivacantism. That is that there hasn't been a valid pope since some point prior to Vatican II. That varies. Some people will say, I think he said Pope Pius XII. Some people will say it's Pope Pius X. It's just the church would look at that and say that that's their opinion. But their individual Catholics aren't the ones that determine the Pope. And Leo's right on. I mean, a lot of it is a straw man about what the church's position, which is no salvation outside the church. What it really would mean is that everybody in heaven is Catholic, because if you're in heaven, there's really only, I'm going to use the word religion, but that's, that would be the presumption there is everybody in heaven is uniquely united. So, and we would say that that's Catholicos, which was Greek for universal.
Can CT, if I can give you 90 seconds to have a wee go, just running out of time. So if you can maybe 90 seconds or so, throw some stuff out, and then we'll give Ricardo some time. Milk is not worth even talking to because he doesn't give a shit about this. He's just here to do that. So go for it, CT.
Okay, first off, Catholics do have the ability to recognize that somebody is not a true pope because Cum ex Apostolus Officio, which is Catholic teaching, gives lay Catholics that ability. It explicitly says that we have that right, and we do not. It says we do not need a declaration from the Church to know that somebody is not a pope due to their heretical public manifest heresy. Secondly, he said that all those in heaven are Catholic. He's 100% correct. But what he didn't tell you is that infallible dogmatic Catholic teaching from Pope Eugene, Innocent III, Pope St. Leo the Great, and numerous other popes state that you have to be Catholic. You have to hold the Catholic faith prior to your death. You have to be baptized and hold the Catholic faith prior to your death. Otherwise, you will not be saved. You will not receive salvation. You will not get into heaven. Instead, you'll go to hell.
I don't think the word Catholic even appears in the Gospels. So
Again,
the canonical foundation of modern Christianity disagrees with you.
Leo. Okay, right. Thank you, Leo. Carlton, have you anything that you would like to add, ask CT, or just say thank you very much for it?
How much time do we have?
Oh, fuck it, man. I'll give you 10 minutes if you've got a code.
No, I don't want you to. I don't want you to go longer.
You're gonna miss the debate.
Okay. I think Leo touched on a lot of it. What I'm curious mostly about, and that's why I asked about the time, is because he keeps asserting rather that Catholicism is the only true way, but he doesn't give us a sort of path or a method to determine that at all.
It will dedicate an entire stream.
Yeah.
Welcome.
That's... Yeah.
You want to come back, Catholic Originalist?
Did you come back, CT?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. We'll maybe arrange something for next week. Would that be too much? Would that be too soon?
I don't know about next week, but maybe sometime soon.
Yeah. I'll send you a message on Discord if you're the same person I'm thinking. Carlton works off Discord, and maybe set up a group. You're in my Discord. We'll definitely sort something out. Ricardo, seeing as Carlton's question is going to be 2 hours long on its own, have you anything that you would like to ask CT or Saul before we wrap up?
To be honest, you're not really. There's no point. There's no way to pick that up. There is the textbook definition of post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy. So the Seventism is something that I don't even give any time of the day. It makes no sense. If you take a look at the 1870 dogmatic constitution, it is the Pope that is sitting on the chair. Obviously, he's right also when he says that any layman can decide that he's not the Pope, but because of the failing to follow the dogmatic teachings, but that doesn't make him less of a Pope because of it. And again, as I said, I think that this is nothing to do with Pope Francis. This is George Bergoglio's opinion. It's not going to be anything that's going to make an influence on the dogmatic teachings.
I did have a question for CT, if I may, really quick.
Really quick.
Again, it will be. Do you know when Catholicism first came about, CT?
Yeah, in 33 AD.
No, it's 325 AD, actually. So for 325 years...
33 AD.
No, that's not when Catholicism came about. That's when the basis for what sort of became Catholicism came about. But Roman Catholicism did not come about until the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, so you're just fucking wrong. You do not know anything about the history of the Church. So are you saying
that let's not scream. Leo, I'm not going to let you do that because I am trying to, and I do try to perform a fair platform here. We are rounding up. You're not going to be able to jump in and go, you're a dick just before the end.
I just doesn't know what he's talking about. Which
okay.
Yeah, may I respond?
We've got a lot of corner going on for Stool. We're going to give Stool the floor.
Well, can I respond to what he just said before you give anyone else the floor?
30.
Okay, if you read the early church fathers' writings before 325 AD, you'll see that they were. Okay, can I speak without being interrupted? Okay, so if you read their writings, you'll see that they're clearly Catholic because they mention mention the Bishop of Rome as having primacy and supremacy over all the church, and they point to the rock as being Peter and the office of the Bishop of Rome as being Peter, with regards to all those subsequent popes that came later. And also, you see, they speak of the Holy Eucharist as being the actual body, flesh, soul, and divinity of our Lord Jesus Christ, which is what Catholics believe. So and they also say they're unanimous on saying that the sacrament of water baptism is absolutely necessary for salvation, and holding the faith of the church that the church preaches through both oral tradition, and scripture is absolutely necessary for salvation. And they claim to be Catholic. Saint Ignatius of Antioch in 110 AD claimed to be a Catholic.
That's not what he said.
So, the idea, it is what he said. Anybody can look it up.
Leo, Leo, he was allowed to finish.
I can look it up.
Leo, he was allowed to get no, I'll just kick you from the room if possible, man. There you go, thank you very much. Hey, Leo, wait. Stool has the floor. Stool. What we're going to do is we're going to have like a Jerry Springer corner. Jerry Springer's last thoughts. Give us your last thoughts on everything that's happened.
I think this is really sad because I came here for beer, but whatever. There is something very wrong with our lives where human beings sit and argue and try to argue that bullshit is real. That's really wrong. And it's embarrassing. It makes me embarrassed to be a human being. It's wrong.
Oh, so you're promoting the atheist argument. Well, I could refute all of you atheists right now if you want to have
we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is no. Stool got the last word. Dave, you shut the fuck up too. Go back to rat watching. Stool was allowed to give the last bit. That was it. Catholic traditionalist, CT. I would definitely love to have you back. As with Saul, definitely, probably more so than CT. But CT, definitely have you back for a conversation with Carlton. With an after party open to the floor, that would definitely be something. 6 or so. So other than that, I do have Drew's book reviews next Wednesday, and Manda has Dr. Josh coming on Sunday for the Prophecy on Tyre. That should be interesting. Dave has his quiz on Tuesday. Leo's building a channel
tomorrow.
What?
It's tomorrow.
Oh yes, Friday as well as tomorrow. Yes. And there's that. Check out my Twitch for later for the debate. Leo's building a channel. Carlton has one, puts a video out twice a year. And Milk has a wonderful channel that nobody watches. I don't know. I've tried tonight to be on camera. I've moved myself off screen so I don't even see myself. I hope everybody has had a good time. I hope everybody has had fun. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Huge thank you to my Patreons who I haven't got a new video out yet for all my new Patreons. I don't know why people have started to give it. All goes towards getting new. The next thing is a new mic because of audio issues. And the only last thing I have to say is Saul being the victim tonight. Thank you very much for coming in. Thank you very much for being cordial. And we'd definitely love to have you back as a regular.
Hey, thank you. In transparency, other than like a 30-minute quick just dial in last couple weeks ago, this is the first time I've ever been on a stream. So
doing really well.
I would also say I appreciate the cordiality. Obviously, CT and I disagree and have a different approach to trying to make our positions. So
there is a group of them you may encounter.
Yes, if you just aren't hanging around with us, there is a group of them crazy kids.
Yeah, I've pretty much given up this engaging set of a contest on Twitter, because what you typically find is they will cite things, but then if you go read them yourself and read a couple paragraphs before and after, it's a lot of stuff taken out of context.
This is one of the reasons why I reached out to yourself, man. Directly, I reached out to Dry Apologist because Caleb, isn't it? Caleb is as he's known as Dry Apologist. He's still very cordial. You can have a conversation with him. You can talk to him. As with Spartan Theology, who is a regular here, and we love the both. Reaching out to find Christians that we can actually have a conversation. Had the conversations with the crazies. Had the conversations with the Poes and the Trolls. And they're only out there.
I'm still here.
They're only out there for a gotcha moment. And we don't want a gotcha moment. We want a genuine conversation from different opinions, because the wider, the more different groups of people we have, the wider view of the actual economics of the actual sociality.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of times just it takes a little bit of just dialogue to understand the nuance of what each person is, even the definition of terms. I mean, I suppose 90% of our problems in the world are, could be driven just by you have a meaning in your mind about a term and we're saying the same term, but we both have different ideas about what that term even means. And you can't even get to off the step one if you can't.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
I think that's the wisest thing that's been said all night.
Well, on that note, I'm going to go eat supper with my kids.
No, we will end on that. We will end on that because that is brilliant, man. We will end on that because, as Dave said, that is one of the wisest things that has been said all night. Hopefully my audio isn't going to cut out because of the stupid noise gate. And on that, we will oink and we will out.
I'm guessing it's going to be the last supper.